Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special Saturday edition of Uncut History. How's everybody doing tonight? This is not our normal setup. This is actually probably a very shabby setup.
Yep, this is a hotel.
Yes, we're back.
Yep.
Impromptu stream. Last time we did this, it was Veterans Day, Armistice Day.
Yeah.
We also have a very interesting selection of drinks.
Yeah, we got cherry Coke and coffee.
Yeah.
You think they go well together?
I don't advise. I don't advise mixing that. That
doesn't sound like a particularly good good mix.
No. So yeah.
I don't know if you heard this scream.
Yeah, so we decided to do an impromptu stream. We like doing these when we're on our blitzes and traveling and getting content created for both of our channels. And we decided to do it a little bit earlier at 7 because, you know, we do talk and we try to be quiet when we're in the hotel room, but you also have to pronounce your voice while you're on stream. And it's been pretty quiet all evening. So we decided to start. There are children screaming at the top of their lungs through this wall. It might actually be more this way. It might be above or below. We
literally did not start till about 20 seconds before we started the stream.
We started going on the stream, and we're not just talking like kids having fun. We're talking
it's like screaming and
we're talking like The Exorcist is occurring over there. I don't know how I feel about that.
Filming a sequel.
Hopefully it's better than what came out.
Yeah,
I heard people said that was an absolute crap sequel.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. That's what I heard.
Remake boot will. What do you call them nowadays?
Oh gosh, shovelware.
Shovelware.
It's like it's like shovelware, but it's movies. It's just theaterware.
Theaterware. Well, let's take a look who's tuning in tonight. We do have Wrangler tuning in, who also was kind enough to gift us a lovely 420. Yeah, I got a few clips now.
Nice.
It's been a little while since you've been on. We got.
No, yeah, this is like high tech.
It's semi-professional. It will never be fully professional, but we got clips to meme people with.
Nice.
It's pretty great. Pretty great. And then, of course, we got the ghost of Howard's right arm.
Yeah.
I'm presuming that's General Oliver Otis Howard.
Yeah.
Who did not have the use of his arm during the American Civil War.
What happened to his arm?
Got messed up. I think it was it the Peninsula Campaign? General Howard's arm was made useless. I want to say it was the Peninsula Campaign.
Okay.
Howard actually had a pretty long military career, though. He did stuff after the American Civil War. He was involved with a lot of the Indian expulsion stuff that was happening up in the northern half of the Midwest Territory. So you see his name pop up a lot. He was also in charge of the Flying Dutchman. I mean, the 11th Corps. And I do actually the 11th Corps. I do really love getting into their history. One day we'll do some more proper coverage on them. Well, we kind of have. We did the Barlow Snow video the other year. So, but 11th Corps does get a bad rap because they're always put in the worst possible location on the battlefield, and magically it means they dissolve. Funny about that, when you throw people in front of hordes of Confederates charging towards you, it don't end well.
No.
General Howard has nothing to do with what we're doing this weekend, though.
Yeah.
What are we doing this weekend?
So we are at the Valley Forge.
The Valley Forge.
The Valley Forge. There are none others. This is it. Outside of Philly. We might hit Brandywine tomorrow, assuming that we don't get destroyed by a snowstorm.
We'll talk more about that later. Sunday is going to be left open.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but
it might be. We might have to change plans and go to an interior museum.
Yeah,
there are possibilities.
Okay,
so we'll keep that open. But yeah, no, both of us are from Pennsylvania, but we're from the western side of the state.
Yeah, this is a bit outside our normal range.
We don't go near Philadelphia.
No.
This is the closest either of us have been to Philly, I think.
I was in Philly when I was like 10.
Oh, I've never been.
But it's the closest I've probably been in about 16 years. So
maybe the closest I ever get.
Yeah.
Unless somebody takes me on a bus van group down there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drive it.
Nah, I'm not even carpool, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You take a train.
Pittsburgh driving's bad enough.
Yeah. And how long would it take to train from Pittsburgh?
Well, it wouldn't be bad to do the train. Oh no, I'll go on Howard. I have no problem.
Yeah,
that's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. No, but we could take a train, but it's going to cost us a lot of money. Amtrak isn't really cheap. And it's also very inefficient. Like, it would take us all day just to get to Philly.
Yeah.
And then, kind of that's ruined.
in Philadelphia for 5 minutes immediately.
You know, the state used to have, but was home to one of not the best private railroad, the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Yeah, and then what happened?
Well, they decided it would be a great idea to merge with the New York Central right as all the railroads were starting to implode in the wake of the Second World War. Industries are being shipped out of the country. So railroads were shrinking. They're like, let's merge or combine together. And by doing that, they completely imploded the railroad economy in the country. And arguably, it has never recovered.
Wow.
It took 30 years until the federal government were willing to let Conrail dissolve and let the lines be bought out by private ventures again, which is why we got Norfolk Southern actually bordering the Valley Forge National Historic Site.
Okay.
That was a Reading line. Then, of course, it all ended up becoming part of Penn Central and then Conrail and all that wonderful mess. So, yeah, it all tied back together.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
You said it. I didn't.
I have a friend from college who's from Philly, and he never went back. He just started living in Western PA. He lived in West Virginia for a hot minute. He's like, yeah, I'm not going back to Philly.
That's fair.
Yeah, he has
That's
no
fair.
plans. So.
Yeah. So we've always wanted to come to Valley Forge, and we've always wanted to actually go see American Revolution sites. One, the big thing on Redoubt Productions, and both of our, I guess you want to say, our history careers, history passions have been talking about George Washington. The thing is, when we talk about George Washington, we're actually students of young George Washington and his involvement in the French and Indian War, which became this international mess, which sets the stage for both the French and American revolutions to happen. So if you don't have the French and Indian War, you don't get our country.
Yeah.
And you don't get the mess that France becomes.
Yeah. But it's kind of nice seeing, like, because when you picture George Washington as like the guy who was at Valley Forge, first president of the country, you kind of forget sometimes that he was young and made a lot of horrible mistakes, like in his early career, like many of us do.
So what's cool is we get to talk about early George. It's something a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
We don't get to talk about the famous George everybody else gets to talk about. So it's like we're getting to wear like the normal clothes this weekend.
Right.
It's a little interesting. It's a little weird being a tourist at a very famous site.
We did find 2 references to the French Indian War at the Valley Forge Visitor Center.
We were very happy.
Yep.
Well, we were like,
yeah, there it
they
is.
acknowledged us.
Yep.
So we're trying to, the plan was we're going to hit multiple locations relating to the Philadelphia campaign of 1777. This military operation was spurred on when the British general, William Howe, decided instead of following the British strategy of moving armies up and down the Hudson River and cutting New England off from the colonies, he decided instead to put his army on boats, go up the Delaware River, then decide he didn't like the Delaware River, go down the Delaware River, go up to Chesapeake Bay, offload, and attack the rebel capital of Philadelphia from the west. And he was successful in capturing Philadelphia. The United States capital was held by the British Army in 1777. But as Benjamin Franklin famously put it, Philadelphia has taken Howe prisoner.
The more things change.
Yeah. Howe really wasn't able to do anything. He's like, he's going to stay in the city. He does not want to go out into the rural countryside and get picked off.
Yep.
And Washington decides, instead of falling back to another city like a Reading, Pennsylvania, or a Lancaster or York, where Congress had fled, he was going to put himself between Howe and the interior of the United States. And that is why he chose Valley Forge as his encampment. So that's a brief summary of the Philadelphia campaign in a nutshell. A lot of interesting maneuvers occurred. Not a lot was really gained by either side in terms of territory.
Yeah, it was kind of like a weird, almost like Cold War situation.
Yeah.
They were kind of like looking at each other. But other than there was the small skirmish Lafayette was involved in.
Well, that was in 78.
Yeah, later.
That was when they were getting ready to leave Valley Forge and then go fight the Battle of Monmouth, which is when Howe's gone. Funny story. He retired from service after failing to capture Washington Continental Army.
Yeah.
It's a nice way of saying he'd been fired by King George III.
He had a going away party, though.
He had one of the greatest going away parties in American history. There were fireworks and everything. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
All while the Continentals raided for supplies on the edge of Philadelphia.
Yeah, there's just distant musket fire as the party's going on.
So yeah, he evacuated, and the British Army was then put in charge of Henry Clinton. Clinton fell back to New York. Washington pulled Clinton into a battle in Monmouth. Some say it was a inconclusive action. Washington claimed it was a great victory. We've already talked about Monmouth on the channel for construction paper battlefield, but we do hope one day to go actually out there to see the battlefield. It's a very interesting battle that occurred there. And yeah, the northern feeder, the Revolution, for the rest of it would be kind of gridlocked. Yeah. You would have raids going into each other's territories, but in terms of a major battle, that's it.
Yeah.
Of course, there's Yorktown in 1781, but I kind of include that in the southern feeder, even though Washington goes down and Rochambeau. Yeah. So that's the Philadelphia campaign. We're focusing on just a few aspects, particularly the first half of it, or so was the strategy for this weekend. Now, it has been phenomenally beautiful weather in Pennsylvania all winter. Yeah. If you watched our...
Yeah, that storm really is hitting.
I don't even know if that's a storm. I was over here.
No, that was over there. That was thunder, and I think that tree might have lost a limb, it sounded like.
Oh, no.
Yeah, luckily it's far away from my car.
Yeah, so as you're seeing, it has been a wonderful winter, very unusually mild for us. Yeah. I mean, I was doing them Gettysburg videos in January, and it was 60 degrees out.
Yeah, I mean, this past week, it's been routinely like 50-plus degrees every day. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah, so we were very excited coming to do this. We're like, oh, this is really good. We're going to get all sorts of content. And then it decided for this weekend only, Saturday and Sunday.
It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold, rainy, and the wind is currently picking up. And we're supposed to have snow tomorrow.
Yes, which is delightful. I love driving across the state in snow. It's my favorite thing.
So I had grand ambitions. I have been humbled by the Pennsylvania weather.
Many officers and generals before you have.
So there will be Valley Forge content on the channel. I don't think it's going to be as in detail as I was initially hoping it was going to be. Yeah. There's always a return trip.
Yeah, I was about to say, it gives us a reason to come back out here in the future when the weather's a bit nicer. But it was funny because like neither of us brought winter coats because we thought we weren't going to need them. So like I have a light like windbreaker like jacket, and Readout only brought
what you're looking at.
Yeah, what he's wearing, not waterproof at all.
Yeah, because I was like, no, I'm going to pack light. I'm tired of packing heavy. I want to pack light, just have 2 or 3 bags. Yeah, that's light to me.
Yep.
And yeah, that's why I'm still drinking coffee at 7 at night, warm coffee. I'm still trying to
return some life to your body.
Yeah, they had to put me into the bath. Was it the bath to tank?
Yeah, the back to tank.
Yeah, in Star Wars. That's kind of was me about a half hour ago in the shower. That was the back to tank.
Yeah.
I still can't pronounce things right now. It's bad enough that I'm a Yinzer, like the ghost of Howard's right arm mentions. Yeah. I can't pronounce Lancaster. Lancaster is how I think they want to pronounce Lancaster.
Yeah.
If you subscribe to the channel, thank you for that, by the way. You know what you get into. You sign a contract to deal with my incompetence.
Well, I had a comment recently on one of my videos that was like, great information, but you need to work on your pronunciation. It's like, yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming down out there.
That's
why I went quiet.
Yeah.
What did we do to upset the gods?
I don't know. I didn't exist, apparently.
Yeah, today's just the weather. Anytime it got good, it was when we were indoors.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous. It would be raining. We would get to like a building or a museum or something. We'd go in, it would stop raining. And then as we left, it would start raining again, like without fail.
We truly got the Valley Forge experience.
Yeah, it was cold and it was wet and my shoes got soaked and yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if I had packed more wisely for traditional Pennsylvania winter, there would have been more content.
Or the weather would have been nice. It would have been like, oh, they prepared.
Oh yeah, it'd been like 60 degrees out, and we would have been like, man, we wish we would have brought shorts. We're starting to sweat our butts off. Of course, it would have been like that. So yeah, it's been an interesting day.
Yep.
Well, so this is both our first times going to Valley Forge. What's your impressions?
It's very different than a lot of the other historical sites I've been to. Because like growing up, like my family made the trip down to Williamsburg a few times, like. Which isn't super Rev War, but it's like close, you know.
I'd say it's Rev War.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the historic triangle there and everything with Yorktown, but yeah, no, we've never made it out to Valley Forge. Like this was cool. It's in the middle of like all of this urban sprawl. So like we go to Gettysburg fairly often, and like Gettysburg's very much like small town. Like the battlefield's just well preserved. The skylines are
most of the surroundings is relatively rural. Even if it's not park.
Yeah, but around here, it's like there's a casino right across from the entrance to Valley Forge, a casino resort. and you can just see it on the skyline. So it's just a very different experience. But like once you're in like the Valley Forge Park itself, like once you kind of get back a little ways, it kind of starts feeling a bit more
appropriate.
Yeah, a bit more appropriate. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and now a little bit of the history of the preservation of the park. Of course, Washington, the Continental Army, he probably marched in with approximately 15,000 soldiers in December 19th, 1777. Now, we've all been told that Valley Forge is this inhospitable winter, snow, ice on the ground. Their feet were bleeding to death. There was blood all over the place from marching. Yep. The army was so small. No. When they marched in, they had at least about 14,000 soldiers. But there's some recent historiography where if you add these rosters up in the first 4 days in the encampment, they may have had as upwards as 19,000 men walking into that camp, which is pretty darn good compared to previous years. And most of the winter was a lukewarm winter. Now, when I say lukewarm, I'm actually talking about today. Today was actually pretty appropriate for weather at Valley Forge in 1777. Rainy, cold, but no snow.
Yeah.
A lot of mud, a lot of pools of water. Yeah, we felt that.
Yeah, very similar.
Which, of course, made life 10 times worse for an army that was not being supplied well, because the previous quartermaster general for the Continental Army had resigned his post in frustration with Washington. And he didn't tell Washington about that for over a month.
Is that the quiet quitting that everybody's always talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you listening to the thunder coming?
Yeah, it's like thundering. It's
yeah.
This tree might just go. If we just go black, it means the.
We did actually lose cable briefly earlier.
Yeah.
Which I have not had happen in years. I mean, granted, I haven't had cable since I was like 12, but like, still very strange.
Yeah, this is becoming one of the trips.
It is one of the trips of all
time. Is this the most hazardous trip?
Well, we're near Philly. I feel like that automatically adds like a difficulty modifier. We took the turnpike out here, which also adds a danger factor. Yeah. So
back to Valley Forge. So, yeah, it was a lukewarm Pennsylvania winter, but that meant it constantly rained, which turned the situation muddy, which is perfect breeding grounds for all sorts of terrible ailments.
Oh, yeah.
About 2,000 American soldiers died due to the encampment of Valley Forge from poor sanitation. Another thing that ended up happening was, while I mentioned that it could have been as upwards to 19,000 that walked into Valley Forge, within days that number rapidly drops. And that's because soldiers were being dispersed, detached into scouting positions along the Delaware River, north and south of Philadelphia, to keep an eye on how. Then the enlistments go up. Some of these one-year enlistments are going to go up. Now, beginning a couple of years prior, when the war started, everything was one-year enlistments, but as the war progressed into the second and third year, the Congress approved for 3-year enlistments, and those were present in Valley Forge, but you're going to still see a lot of your older soldiers. Those 3-year enlistments, they start in 1775. Guess what that means?
You're gone.
Yeah, they expire at the end of 77. So you're going to see a lot of people depart in the Army throughout January and February. And at its lowest, it was only about 6,000 men fit for service in March of 78 to Valley Forge. There were more soldiers there, but they were all either cooped up in their huts sick or had been carried off to the hospitals, which to many soldiers was a death sentence to be sent to the hospitals. Now, the Army, as we enter spring, would actually start picking up recruits. So you get a lot of new recruitments. And I would roughly say about 2/3 of the Continental Army that was in Valley Forge when they left on June 19th, 1778. You're looking at about 14 to 15,000. So it's about the same number that had walked in. A little bit smaller. They had reorganized some of the structure in terms of how it was broken down and chain of command, but a good bit of them were new recruits.
Yeah.
So a lot of those veterans you had from the victories of Trenton and Princeton were gone before the Battle of Monmouth.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting thing, I feel like, especially like when you're a kid and you get like the footnotes version of the American Revolution. Like you kind of picture in your mind that these guys were kind of fighting through the entire war. But that really historically hasn't been the case.
No, it makes a lot of people question the pension records because you'll say, well, I served here. And it's like,
did you though? Did you really?
In 77, people didn't know what was going to become of the revolution. Was there going to be a mutual agreed peace where we go back to status quo? Like, would we just go back to what it was like before the taxes? Was the traders going to be hung? Or are they going to be taken out? Is the whole country going to implode and Britain's going to enforce its iron will over it? What's going to happen? So when people were leaving the army at Valley Forge in 77 and 78, they didn't know what was going to become of it. Mm-hmm. So now you pass forward 30 years and they're still around, and Washington goes on to become first president of the United States. Everybody's like, yeah, I was with him.
Yep.
Yeah, I was there for all of it.
Everything.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Valley Forge encampment lasted 6 months, lukewarm weather, but that created very unsanitary conditions, was led to high costs of life. About 2,000 were killed. Army marched out, pushed the British back up to New York City. Thereafter, the land very quickly got retaken by the local population. It was always just simply farmland. Mm-hmm. There was a few farmhouses around where the encampment was. There was also the Valley Forge itself, which was a forge, gristmill, sawmill. It was a whole complex along Valley Creek, though that had been razed by the British Army, but prior to Washington making an encampment there. But all of that's going to get reclaimed by the local population. In the 19th century, the most interesting thing that I learned about happened at Valley Forge,
they started a asbestos factory in Valley Forge to make asbestos building material. Which, yeah, great use of historical land, really.
Yeah. I don't know if it was actually on the campment, but it was in that valley, that river valley in that area.
Well, and there were still like quarries in the area.
There were.
So.
Yeah, you can see a lot of evidence of that on the fringes of the park. I don't know if you notice across from the visitor center, there's like a whole sheet of just sheet of rock there. It's a sheer cut. I presume that was from the quarry operations.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, of course, the United States survives the American Revolution. It grows.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers about that. Philadelphia, of course, grows with it as well. It's no funny story. Not the nation capital anymore. They moved that into a swamp down in Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
no, literally, it was
a swamp.
Yeah, the Potomac River back there was
built up there, and
it's amazing how they did that. So Philadelphia grows, and the state became suddenly alarmed around 1893 that Valley Forge is a very important landmark. And by this point, the myth of Valley Forge had carried on about the freezing winter, and everybody was making these hardships 10 times worse. And they're like, this is the moment where everything changed for the Army, where it's like, it was a series of events where the slow changes is seen. And before we speak into the park being preserved, I should mention my theory on why everybody has this mythologized version of Valley Forge, this freezing winter when it was this mighty lukewarm. Not long after the encampment of Valley Forge, there was the encampment of Morristown of 79-80, which is considered to be the coldest winter during the American Revolution. Like, we're talking ice storms, we're talking heavy snowfall. It was, in terms of weather conditions, it was the most deplorable you ever want to be in. You would freeze out there. I think because how close the two encampments were, and years later, people started reminiscence amongst the revolution, the two encampments in the popular mind kind of merged together. Yeah. So the tactical lessons that were learned at Valley Forge from Baron von Steuben, as well as the harsh winters from Morristown, kind of all just merged into one event. I think that's what happened. But for whatever reason, everybody attached it to Valley Forge, not Morristown.
Was the Morristown encampment smaller than Valley Forge?
Not necessarily. I mean, it was also for the Continental Army, and actually Morristown was a regular encampment for the Continental Army. Okay. They had a more informal winter quarters there in 76, early 77, I should say, after the Battle of Princeton. And then the battle lines always seem to shift there through Morristown between the American and British. Love to go to Morristown one day. Yeah. Does require us going to New Jersey, though.
It's a bit, yeah.
There's a lot of important history in New Jersey, but...
Well, I feel like one of these days we also got to get up to like Lexington and Concord and all that fun stuff.
Go up and tell the people in Boston that no, your accent's worse than ours.
Is that your hill that you're going to die on?
Yeah, I am. Fair enough. Come fight me. Yinzer versus Bostonian. Here we go.
I pay for that pay-per-view.
Yeah. It'd be great. So So yeah, the Valley Forge became mythologized. They combined all these events that occurred at other encampments. The public remembered it just being at Valley Forge. Many consider it now the birthplace of the U.S. Army, which I think is a fair claim to fame. Not the literal U.S. Army, because the Continental Army is actually its own separate beast. We didn't raise a proper U.S. Army until the 1790s.
Yeah.
We didn't like standing armies.
Yeah, weird that we kind of had a problem with that.
Yeah, we thought that if we had our own standing army, it'd be run by a dictator and overthrow the government.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I lost my train of thought. The ice, there's some ice still in my brain.
Yeah, birthplace of the U.S. Army.
Birthplace of the U.S. Army. So, Valley Forge was under threat of encroachment. So, in 1893, the state of Pennsylvania purchased plots of it and start operating it as a state park. They had some interesting plans for it. They were going to actually put a fence around the whole perimeter of the park, and there were going to be just two massive archways, and it was going to be the only way you get in and out of the park.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be over the Gulf Road, as historically the Gulf Road, which goes north and south right through the heart of the encampments, that was the road the Army took to come into it in December. Well, funny story, trying to replicate the Arch to Triumph in the middle of Pennsylvania is very expensive.
Shocker.
Yes. So they weren't able to do the two gates nor the wrought iron fencing. What they did do was they would use the funds to make one arch as a memorial in the memory of the soldiers that were there. And we did get to see it.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
It is beautiful.
It's very well done.
That's one of the few things that I did get to set out and achieve to document. So you'll get to see that in whatever form I choose to artifact, highlight, or retrace in history down the line. So the state owned it for a while. They declared eminent domain over several farmlands to expand the park boundaries. There's also the Washington Memorial Chapel, which is not owned by the park. It's its own private parcel. It does sit technically on encampment property. And that was our last stop, actually.
Yeah, and that was really neat because the chapel, I think, is gorgeous. But they have this whole bell tower that has all these honor plaques and everything in there for soldiers from the Rev War through World War II. There's plaques in there that you can currently, any veteran can have their name put on there for a fee, which is kind of neat.
Very Gothic.
Yeah, it's very, very Gothic. It's you go in that church, it feels like you're in Europe. It's got the high wooden ceiling. It's all dark. Really cool organ in there. Somebody was practicing when we went in. It was pretty neat. There's also a huge cemetery attached to it, which has a very interesting.
We were hoping we're going to get to explore it. I've been taking notes about very interesting graves in there. Supposedly, there's a white Russian naval officer buried there.
Yes. Yeah.
Philander Knox is also buried there, who was the Attorney General during the Roosevelt administration, the Teddy Roosevelt administration, the good Roosevelt
the good Roosevelt.
Yeah, the one I like talking about, the fun one.
Yeah,
the fun one. I actually bought a Roosevelt book today too.
Mm-hmm.
But that little bookstore in the bottom of the chapel, used bookstore.
Yeah, I got a book on the 101st Airborne in Germany, and then a collection of poems by Rudyard Kipling.
Always good.
A lot of his military stuff, yeah.
Always a win.
Yep.
So, yeah, we didn't get to explore the cemetery, which always incentivizes us to make a return trip. We're never opposed to return trips. Except that means we have to get near Philadelphia again.
Yeah. Some things are worth it.
I'll come prepared next time.
We'll bring all the coats.
Yeah, we'll bring all the coats.
Yeah, all the coats.
Yeah, all the coats.
Remember to watch out for speed tables.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, the chapel's built there as a private way to memorialize Valley Forge, and the state operated up until the bicentennial, and that is when actually the federal government purchased the property and it became part of the National Park Service. So interestingly enough, it's one of the more recent additions when you think about the Park Service.
Yeah.
It's surprised it took that long before the federal government got their hands on it.
Yeah.
Considering how, especially during the bicentennial, how important probably the myth of Valley Forge was.
Yeah.
So very high up there. But yeah, the park itself is very well maintained. Some of the cabins look like they just got recently reconstructed.
Yeah, no, the wood looked like it was brand new. They were still look like they were putting in the fireplaces in a few of them.
So they're definitely working on doing rehabilitation projects on the property right now. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to look like in the near future. I know just a few years ago, they did a massive overhaul of their visitor center, which I think the visitor center has been there since the bicentennial structure.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
And the exterior, you could tell.
Yeah, it's very modern.
It's these like two
It's
big
glass triangles.
Yeah, these two big glass triangles coming out of the earth, and then like the entrance is going down into the ground.
Like the main part of the museum's like underground. It's very odd. It's very 70s.
But the renovations are very well laid out.
No, I thought the exhibits were well laid out. I thought the artifacts were on display were pretty interesting. They actually have a neat little kiosk there that, like, if you think you have ancestors or at Valley Forge, you can actually search through
the Valley Forge muster roll. It's a website actually you can go on right now, and it's an exhaustive list of everybody they so far have recorded as being at Valley Forge. And Howard's right arm mentions about remembering a museum with a big painting. That you got to be a little more specific. There's a lot of big paintings. I'm going to presume you're meaning the famous painting of Washington reviewing the troops as they're marching into Valley Forge. They do not have that on display, at least not in like a proper canvas.
Yeah, and I didn't even see like a representation of it. Really,
I think the closest was they had the mannequin of Washington when you first start the exhibits. So I know no particular big painting that came to mind. There's a lot of artwork done by Don Triani. Don Triani, famed American military history artist, done stuff from the French and Indian War up through, I think, modern times, actually.
Oh, wow.
But he particularly focuses on, like, Revolutionary War content. So a lot of the artwork in there was done by him under his guidance or by other entities. Every other sign and wayside at the battlefield. The park, it's on a battlefield. Valley Forge is not telling a battlefield. Every other wayside is from Osprey Publishing. Like
that was funny. If you ever look through the old Osprey books of like the army in whatever period, it's like those illustrations.
So,
well, and it looks like you're saying, they just renovated the museum, so it could have had a large copy of that painting.
Very likely. Like I said, 2017, I think was when the big overhaul happened.
Right.
It was a big deal when that happened. What do you think about the park film?
I thought the park film was good.
Yeah.
I will say, I felt like a lot of the soldiers portrayed were older than they should have been, but I feel like that's just common with a lot of, you're bringing reenactors in to fill in as extras.
Your average soldier in the Continental Army would have been in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And not to say there weren't people as young as young teenagers or as old as people in their 50s. It did happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, other than that, though, like, I thought the content of the film was good. I thought especially if you knew nothing about Valley Forge going in, it's a very good breakdown of, hey, this is why this place is important. This is where von Steuben comes in and turns everything around. I don't know how it became, but we just suddenly became big fans of von Steuben. Yeah, I like von Steuben. Steuben, however you want to pronounce it.
He's a character.
He really is. He had a very interesting life.
If you don't know who we're talking about, in February of 1978, a Prussian officer showed up at Valley Forge with letters of recommendation from Silas Deane, Benjamin Franklin, and members of Congress, as well as key French officials, basically say that this guy was a baron from the Kingdom of Prussia, was a staff officer of King Frederick II, or Frederick the Great, as he's more commonly known as, that he was a quartermaster general, that he comes with the highest regards, like he's this high-ranking officer, and he's gonna save the army.
Yep.
He did save the army.
He did indeed save the army.
He may have not been as he did not have all those high ranks. He actually only received as high the rank of captain. Now, that being said, he saw a lot of service during the 7 Years' War, which is just a European term for the French and Indian War. Got wounded at least once. He had period of time served as a prisoner of war in Russia. At the end of the war. But he was only able to go to captain because when the war ended in 1763, all countries did this. They quickly began downsizing their military because the war was so economically costly.
Yep.
And that's kind of, again, why we exist, the United States of America, because we did not want to pay the taxes that were going to pay the debt of the French and Indian War. So Steuben could not go up any further in rank. He applied for a very small school military trainings course that was directed by King Frederick the Great. Only 12 people are allowed entry, and he was going to be like his future generals. He was allowed entry, and he did complete the course, but he got snubbed by fellow students. Fellow students said a lot of nasty things about Steuben and Frederick's ear. So he completed the course, but he never got like a call up.
Is it because he wasn't from like a higher born family? Or
there's dispute over what it was. Some say it was that he wasn't that he was from. When I say lower class, I'm not saying he was poor, but more from his father was an engineer with the military. He didn't necessarily have a lot of upward mobility.
Yeah.
There's also saying that he was, because of his sex life, that's why he was not allowed. There's probably a mixture of both of them, and there's somewhere there's an element of truth between the two of it. So he floated around for jobs for several years. Throughout Europe, really couldn't get a good paying job, at least for his lucrative standards.
Right.
Until he heard about this thing called the American Revolution. And after much back and forth between himself and Franklin and Dean, he got the nod. But before he left, they beefed up his paperwork. Instead of saying that, okay, this is a Prussian officer who is on the brink of financial collapse and is desperate for a job, they spun it into he's one of the best officers in Europe.
Yeah.
And arguably he may have been. He's kind of like that.
Fair.
He's kind of like that where you have like a player who, is not picked, all of these starting draft picks and like nobody picks them. And like this one team like gets them like as a fifth or sixth string. And it proves out, oh my God, this was exactly what we needed the whole time.
Yep.
Like a Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady was highly drafted. I don't think he was that highly drafted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not big on the sports.
No,
history, 100%.
So yeah, that's how he got over. And anyway, Steuben was the gentleman who wrote the Blue Book for the Continental Army, which was really the first uniform manual of arms the United States military ever had. Before then, the American militaries were using a mixture of the British regulations of 1764, using French regulations that have been translated, probably poorly, and a variety of different militia orders. There was no unified command. So Steuben very quickly went into Valley Forge. After a few weeks of surveying the situation, he decided, I'm going to make a model company of 150 guys. I'm going to teach them what I think are the important details. He focused on troop movement, not so much on the handling of firearms.
Yeah, because that was kind of the interesting thing. He spent some time with the troops and kind of realized that most of them had a pretty good understanding of firearms and marksmanship and things like that. It was just all the actual working as a cohesive unit that they weren't good at. What is the famous quote? If I tell a European soldier to do something, he does it. But for the Americans, I have to tell them why they have to do it a certain way.
Yes, as he, I don't know if he meant sincerely, but probably more like sarcastically, the American genius, as he put it. They have to be explained why they're doing this obvious maneuver.
Right.
So he decided what maneuvers the United States soldiers need, which he decided, okay, they need to know mobility. And basically every day he kind of was making up the manuals he went along.
Yeah.
From what I've gathered, like he would spend early morning, like 3 a.m. he's up. By 5, 6 a.m., they're out there in the Grand Parade drilling. They would have an afternoon drill. Then he would go back to his quarters and would just feverishly think, okay, what do I have to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
And after only about 2 weeks of doing this model company, and everybody kind of just watching him do it, and everybody within 4 days was able to start moving in a unified formation. Washington decided to make him interim inspector general. Basically told everybody you're going to start learning Steuben's tactics beginning today. Like it's happening now. And what I found interesting before we left, the Blue Book itself was not published until 1779. So all these details were not formally put into print until the following year. The only way that the regiments had this on their records was by every day the clerks put it into the orderly book, writing everything out that they'd been taught today.
So you almost had multiple different versions of the Blue Book, floating around.
Yeah, it was kind of it was a very informal way, but it worked. It worked very well. Within the matter of 3 weeks from the model company deploying, within 3 weeks' time, you had whole regiments being able to march in formation on the Grand Parade. And then on May 6, 1778, probably for the first time ever, the Continental Army was able to move as one unified unit for the Grand Review on the parade ground, which was to celebrate the alliance between America and France. So that's arguably, in my opinion, the most important aspect about Valley Forge is what von Steuben does, brings and teaches. And elements of the Blue Book are reportedly still taught in U.S. military schools. I'm going to assume not involving the line of battles.
No, they totally still learn line combat.
I think it has a little more to do with the leadership skills of how he kind of did us all on the fly.
Yeah.
And von Steuben eventually became the official inspector general once Thomas Conway resigned that position. and he went on to follow the army for several of its campaigns, was at Yorktown, finally was able to own a piece of land in America, something he was never able to do his whole life in Europe.
Yep.
He purchased a piece of land up in New York where he is buried to this day.
Yeah, no, he stuck around, and
yeah. There's this ridiculous statue of him. It's 8 feet tall.
8 feet tall.
It's taller than the Washington statue at
Yep.
Valley Forge. So let that sink in. They even made sure to put his spurs on.
And he is jacked in that statue. He is a buff dude. Yeah.
You will likely see images in the coming days of us
Yep.
in front of him. That was pretty epic.
It was. It was
Yep.
really cool.
So yeah, that was fun to see and freeze in front of.
Yeah, it got colder as the day progressed too, which is weird because you think it would get warmer in the afternoon. No, it got colder actually.
Nah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was our trip to Valley Forge. We're hoping to be able to do more stuff tomorrow, but we'll have to see what the wind blows.
Yeah, we'll look at what the weather's doing in the morning and kind of.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do something. We're gonna salvage this some way, and proof that we're not just we're just making it up here.
Here's the Valley Forge.
You can see it's also wrinkled from the rain.
Yep.
Relic.
Yep. Relic of the trip.
Yeah. But yeah. Just so you guys, we're going to be going on for probably about an hour, 20 more minutes. Probably about only an hour stream. If you guys have any questions for myself or Humble Collector, by all means, tune in for the chat. But now we're into the gibberish territory.
Yeah, gibberish.
What do we have to talk about in the gibberish territory? What do you want to talk about?
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
You don't know?
Oh, the speed table. So we left Valley Forge to go get some lunch around 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And we ended up driving through this like subdivision that's right next to
like we said,
Forge,
urban sprawl
right out the
completely
back
surrounds the park.
And there were speed bumps everywhere, one of which I did not notice and slammed down on quite hard. But we went over a speed bump, and like 10 feet in front of it, there was a sign that said speed table ahead, which was just another speed bump. And we'd never heard that terminology before. But apparently a speed table is like a speed bump, but it's flatter and shorter than a normal speed bump would be.
I'd never
heard of it. It seems kind of dumb to be
Philadelphia
honest.
thing.
Yeah. But also the weird speed bump placement too, because they weren't like spaced out or near intersections or anything. It was just kind of like haphazard, really.
Those fuzzy speed bumps are called deer. Yeah, that they are.
Yeah.
we know about them.
We saw a herd of them. Was that last night or this morning?
That was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. There was a herd of them as we were going up to the motel.
Yeah, it must have been yesterday.
Mm.
Beep, beep.
Yeah, we had 5 guys for lunch. That was
that was very good. That was our only meal today.
That was our only
meal.
Yeah, that was our only meal.
We're still reaping the benefits of it.
Yep.
The nutritious value of fries and ketchup at the bottom of a cup.
Well, in the museum, they were talking about how the average soldier at Valley Forge was getting 500 calories a day. Meanwhile, the burger alone was over 1,000 calories. And combine that with the giant bag full of fries. Like, we were eating 3 soldiers worth of food right there. America.
It's about that interest.
Yeah.
What Washington did here in 77, 78. It's about that interest.
Yep.
Interest in calories. It goes up like money in the bank. At least that's what they tell me how it's supposed to work.
What, getting interest in the bank and your money goes up?
That's how that's supposed to work.
What, you don't like your 0.02% interest rate?
No, I don't like my money being as worthless as colonial currency in 1777, 78.
Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of be that way.
Yeah. We're just going to say a lot of yeah now.
Is the doomer kicking in?
Well, there's the doomer, there's the tiredness, the coffee's out too. So yeah,
I still got half this Coke left.
That's very good. I mean, I got some tea too, but I don't know if I want to change over to the tea tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. What can we expect from you down the pipeline, Humble Collector?
So we're in Military March. There's a video every day over at my channel.
Link is in the description, by the way, down below.
That's been going pretty well. We're about a third of the way through the month. So at some point I should probably start filming the stuff I need to post in April. So
yeah, you may want to do that.
Yeah, get started on that. But March, all the videos are filmed and up already. So we're good there. There's a video for every day, assuming YouTube doesn't destroy one of them for some reason, which hasn't happened in a few years. But,
just a few years.
But yeah, no. So death cards, miscellaneous World War I, World War II militaria. I picked up a very nice piece of trench art on Thursday that should be coming in the mail this week. So eventually that'll be up on the channel.
Eventually.
Yeah, still working on the wargaming project. I've been doing a lot of painting and crafting for that. We're slowly but surely putting the board together, getting the units painted and based and everything.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a bit smaller scope, I think, than I initially envisioned, but at least the full board will be there. We should have at least 2 divisions worth of miniatures to work with. So, and some fun stuff. Other than that, I don't think I have like any big scale projects coming up, minus the wargaming thing. I think that's like my big project for the year.
Yeah, for me, after this trip and working on these videos, I'm going to be very, very busy again. College is starting this week for me.
Oh boy,
I have weird classes, so I do quarterly semesters instead of the proper 2 semesters.
Yep.
It is what it is. So yeah, we'll be having classes. We'll get some increase in work hours. Things are going to get fun at work. We're going to the plan is that I'm going to be helping out with a reenactment down in the Wilderness, Virginia, a place I have never been before.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get the daylights beaten out of me during that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of marching for this one. Yeah,
fun stuff.
Yeah, I signed up without knowing what I was fully getting into, because that's like how you have to do some of these things. Like if you know what you're getting into and you start thinking about it, then it just you kind of chicken out. So I'm like, this sounds fun.
You get tired just thinking about it.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be my big living history event for the spring. And and then the classes will be over and things will hopefully be in summer then, and hopefully things aren't on fire and burning, and then we can do another trip, and
that'd be good.
We'll have to think of something. We've been talking about a few ideas this evening, actually, because that's what we do. We start thinking of the next trip when we're in the middle of the first
where
trip.
do we want to go next?
You mentioned about the United States Marine Corps Museum.
Yeah, because I went down there with my family probably like 8 or 9 years ago, and it was really cool. I mean, we spent the whole day there and barely had time to see everything, and that was without the War on Terror gallery being done, which I think should be open, right? I'm assuming, but yeah, no, that's a really excellent museum, so we're hoping to see that.
I mean, I've always wanted to get the chance also to go down there to see stuff like Fredericksburg, see Manassas. Want to go see a lot more Civil War battlefields, expand beyond Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Try to prevent the YouTube algorithm from making me a Gettysburg only channel.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I love going to Gettysburg, and I do go there more than anywhere else because there's so much history packed into that one area. It's ridiculous, the history crammed in there. But I don't want to get typecasted by the algorithm.
That's kind of what I feel like has happened to me, because it's like the death card videos do well, and then anytime I publish anything else, it's like,
how dare you try to
how dare I try to talk about it? And it used to be the exact opposite. Nobody watched death card videos for years, and then all of a sudden the algorithm's like, this is who you are now.
You become the death card.
You've become the death card guy. Yeah,
the death card guy. And then it happens sometimes.
I had a really funny comment 2 days ago. It was like, I cannot imagine somebody being so ghoulish as to collect death cards. So I guess I'm a ghoul now.
You're a ghoul?
I'm a ghoul, apparently. Thought that was funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been trying to work on getting some scripts done for future French and Indian War biographies. There's another one in development right now. I'm going to kind of be a little quiet about it until we actually release it. But there'll be a couple more of the French and Indian War bios as time provides. A lot of research goes into those. I try to make sure I have them noted up the wazoo on those ones. Then the Adam Stephen one was fun because I put about a month and a half work into that. And there was a period in like 1759 that I was under the impression Stephen was simply stuck at this bridge, because a lot of his correspondence in the book I had was talking about this bridge restoration. Then a friend of mine, like no sooner put the video out, finds this correspondence in another book I did not have access to. And it's like, oh yeah, he's over here fighting this big battle.
So what was all the stuff with the bridge?
Well, that was like before.
Oh, okay.
It just like this letter did not get put into this collection that I have access to. It was put in this other collection that he had access to.
Okay.
So you'll have it happen in the world of history.
Yeah.
When you're trying to do research.
You miss one primary source document and everything.
Yeah, it's all foobar after that. So yeah. So that just already made the bio partly invalid, which really irked me.
Yeah.
Don't feel like going back there for a little while either.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm like, look, I'm working on the next one.
Right.
So there a lot can happen, but a lot's up in the air.
Yep. I still need to finish the 1,000 subscriber video.
Yeah, you do.
I need to just have the time to sit down and record it, but I'm super busy for like the next month.
Yeah.
After that, things should calm down for a little bit
Hopefully.
before I end up in Kansas for a week.
Just let that sit.
Yeah, it's going to be as exciting as it sounds. Except I do get to go to the World War I Museum in Kansas City,
Which is awesome.
I'm very excited for because I know basically nothing of what they have.
That's your day of the trip.
It's my day of the trip. That is my day. I was like, hey, if we're going to go down here, can we please go see this museum? So haven't looked at what exhibits they have. Don't know what they have on display.
You're just like, it says World War I. I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. It's the National World War I Museum. It's going to be fun. There's going to be cool stuff, I'm sure. So, yeah.
How's a cherry Coke?
It's good. It's very cherry.
Very cherry?
Yep, I like cherry Coke.
You like cherry Coke?
Mm-hmm.
Why you like cherry Coke?
Because it's a little bit different than regular Coke.
Just slightly?
Yeah. Sometimes you can find the cherry vanilla. That's the good stuff right there. But,
I never drank coffee until the grind of college set in last fall.
Yep.
And now I'm wired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doomed to servitude to the caffeine.
Yeah. I'm just too lazy in the mornings. Like I don't eat breakfast usually. I don't get coffee. Like I just go to work and then at some point in the morning I'll go get lunch. But
well, I have to put all them coffee mugs from museums to use.
Yeah. Well,
gotta validate their existence.
Well, that's what with all the good weather lately, I've been like after dinner, I'll make a cup of coffee and I'll go out with like my pipe or a cigar or something on my back porch and like listen to music or doom scroll Reddit or whatever. I've been finally getting good at lighting a pipe with just matches, which I'm very happy about because historically I've not been good at that. I still can't strike a match to save my life though. So
just let all those weaknesses be known by the internet.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't care.
You don't care. You do not care. But yeah, no. I'm trying to think of anything else we can talk about as we're winding down this stream.
Any good movies coming out?
Not really.
Yeah. We talked about Dune 2 yesterday. I think that was about it.
Oh, that was really it.
Yeah.
We may or may not get roped into Dune 2.
Yeah, that hopefully. I want to see it since everybody's saying it's the greatest science fiction movie ever. But you know how things are these days. It's either the best or worst thing ever.
Oh, he's asking about the museum near Penn State. I'm assuming you're referring to the Pennsylvania Military Museum. That, you know what? Thank you for reminding me. That is actually on our bucket list.
We have talked about going
yes,
there.
and there is a very huge. So the monument that's there is the shrine to the 28th Infantry Division, and it started as a relatively small monument for the 28th Infantry during World War I. Then it got massive because of the Second World War, and it is like. If you know of the 28th Infantry Division, aka the Bloody Bucket, that shrine that is up there is holy ground. It's in Boalsburg, Pennsylvania, which is not far from State College, Pennsylvania. Yeah, so we're hoping to get up there someday.
Yeah, the 28th, quite literally, my channel icon is a helmet from the 28th for World War I.
Yeah, I'm a big 28th buff myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in Pennsylvania and you're a descendant of Pennsylvania soldiers and stuff, they tend to all be in the 28th.
Yeah, that was kind of like our division really for PA.
Yeah, there was a few others, but the 28th was the iconic one.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely want to go up there, and I want to do a whole history on the monument there. It has a whole history unto itself, and to this day, it's still like holy ground for the Pennsylvania National Guard.
Okay,
like very well maintained. The museum itself, I've heard, is not massive. In terms of when you think of a state military museum, it's not like the biggest in the world.
Yeah,
I've heard they still have a very good collection though. And I know Mr. Abels of the NGP History Project, who we had on last year for a live stream and hoping to get back on again shortly. They've done a lot of work with the military museum for the state. A lot of good work. They've set a lot of their National Guard interpretations up at that site.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely hopefully one day we'll get out there, record, document.
Oh yeah, I was looking for, I can't remember why, I was looking for museums over in Ohio. There is a World War II, I think it's like Baton Museum or something. Let me look that up real quick again.
Museum.
There's like a museum in Ohio that has like the largest collection of some items related to some kind of Pacific battle.
There is a lot of you'll just go to places, especially with the Second World War, and you'll just find these stories in this most seemingly random place.
Yeah.
And usually it relates back to where these service members, where they were born and raised, and that's why it's located there, which really just sends home the impact of this conflict.
Yeah, here it is. The National American Defenders of Baton and Corregidor Museum and Research Center.
Huh.
It apparently has the largest collection of Baton and Corregidor related stuff, and it's you are here compared to Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's not that far.
No, it's really not. I'd never heard of it before, but
yeah, that's you'll always find that stuff in your backyard. Yeah, I'm looking at the website right now.
Yeah,
public can't see because it's on your phone, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the largest collection of artifacts in the world related to the fall of Baton and Corregidor. Yeah. I've never heard of it until I just randomly stumbled upon it on Google
You
Maps.
have this happen.
Yeah.
People ask, how do I discover some of these like graves? And when I do cemetery videos, it's quite literally, I just go through Find My Grave.
Oh, Find
and
Grave's
just scroll
awesome. Yeah.
until I see a date that for some reason seems unusual. It's like, why does that sound familiar? And then usually find it's related to some big event. Just kind of happens. Searching the algorithm.
Yep.
It's like fishing.
It really is. That's what research kind of feels like sometimes. It's like, am I actually going to find anything?
I'm not going to find anything today.
Because let me tell you, sometimes
I've had days.
Sometimes you have so much information, you're like, there's no way I'm not going to find anything. And then you find nothing. And other times you have a last name and an initial, and somehow you find the exact person you're looking for. It really is just luck of the draw.
You're talking about the World War II American experience. That place is awesome.
It is. Yeah,
we were there, both in there.
What, 2 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be making a return trip in the near future.
Yeah.
They got a ridiculous amount of equipment of motive power from the Second World War. I think it's the largest private collection in the United States.
Yeah, they have what, 3 Shermans?
There was 2 in display. Doesn't mean there ain't more in the motor pool. And they just got a howitzer in.
Nice.
They just keep getting stuff. Like the day we were there, the tour guide was like, "Oh yeah, and this is like the Jeep for a divisional chaplain, or was like a regimental chaplain. We just put that out this morning, like with the whole equipment, like all of the robes and everything.
Yeah.
Like they just have the stuff. They just keep pulling it out every day. It's like, how big is your collection?
Huge, apparently.
Is it like the back rooms?
No, that's the other place in Gettysburg.
Oh,
That's the military.
Yeah, we have a video on that one.
Yeah, that place is trippy.
It's a trippy place.
Yeah,
it's very trippy. Well, we're gonna wind down, guys. Thank you for all for tuning in.
Thank you.
I can notice now that people are starting to tune in now, and they're probably because I'm used to the 8 o'clock. But we want to do it a little bit early before we completely gas.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
We got a lot more sights to see tomorrow, and a lot of road.
A lot of road.
Yep. Hopefully those roads are plowed.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't have much faith in PennDOT, so
that's fair.
We'll see.
That's fair. Now, if you want to go and discover more about history of the First and Second World War and other cool, unique items in between, check out a Humble Collector's page. The link is in the description below. He's right in the middle of his military March stream right now. So every single day he's almost every day.
No, every day.
Oh, every day. Okay.
Every day in March.
Every day he is posting a new video about a piece in his collection.
Yes.
He's also is the master of the death card.
Yes, that is the main thing I collect. I think death card video 144 went up yesterday. I think by the end of the month we'll be over 160. But
what happens when we hit 9,000?
I don't even know. Because I still think I have like 1,000 cards in backlog that I haven't even touched yet. So, which I did the math actually. It worked. Don't tell anybody. A few weeks ago, and I think at my current pace, I do about like 90 death card videos a year. And I have enough death cards for the next 12 and a half years if I stop buying them today. And that's with the rough, super conservative estimate that I have 1,000 in backlog. So basically, I'm never going to run out of content. That's ever. Yeah, that's what it seems like, at least. Because that's not counting all the other stuff in my collection. It's not death cards that I still need to do videos on. So, yeah.
Yep. And if this is the first time you've tuned in to see something from Readout Productions, well, welcome. I'm a historian of 18th and 19th century American military history, but to be quite honest, that's just one slice of history I'm into. All sorts of rabbit holes I go down.
Oh, yeah.
If you put the name Pittsburgh on it and say it's historical, usually I'll go down that rabbit hole. And on this channel, we talk about military history, industrial history. We have a weekly live stream every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time called Uncut History. This just happens to be a additional stream to it. So if you're that sounds like you want something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe here to the channel. If you enjoyed tonight's stream, be sure to hit the like button before you depart tonight. It lets the algorithm know that history content is important and that it should be promoted, that people do want to become knowledgeable on our shared past.
Yep.
And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting me and our trips here, there is a link to the Ko-fi page to Readout Production in the description below. We have a small membership program. It's still in its infancy, which is called Joining the Garrison. For a small monthly fee, you'll become part of the Garrison here at Readout Productions, and you'll get a few bonuses that'll be accessed through Ko-fi, and you'll have my undying gratitude for keeping us traveling on these trips. We always say the money goes to coffee. It also goes to the gasoline.
Yeah, gas is expensive.
But Ko-fi doesn't give me a nice option to make an icon for gas. So.
Oh, that's nice.
No, they don't.
Oh, they don't.
No, I wish
Okay.
they did. Plus, buy me
Ko-fi if you're listening.
Yeah, if you make a nice gas can, that's much more
Instead of a
appropriate.
cup of coffee, it's a gallon of gas.
Send a gallon of gas to Readout Productions. Well, thank you, folks, for tuning in. We'll see you next time on our respective platforms. We're gonna hit the music. It's gonna be beautiful music. Don't worry about it. Here we go. It's beautiful. There
It really is.
It really does. We're gonna get a new intro in the coming weeks.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, there's gonna be I wouldn't even call it a rebrand. We're gonna change some of the iconography of the channel. Had a supporter generously gift us a new logo, so that'll be coming.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I've been teasing it on other people's streams, so here in a few weeks. New logo, new intro. For the intro. That's still, yeah, be great.